Hi, I'm Ed from Uckfield Motor Services, and we're here again recording another video for Professional Motor Mechanic magazine. And today I'm joined by Henry from Osram.
Thank you very much for having me, Ed. So I'm Henry, I'm from Osram. Osram is the global leading manufacturer of automotive bulbs and lighting. We've been going for 100 years, celebrating 100th year actually this year, and we are delighted to be here talking about lighting and the developments that have happened in vehicle lighting over the years.
So Henry, we're seeing quite a lot of LED bulbs and poor fitment of bulbs. So just talk me through some of the things that are going on in the bulb world right now.
Okay, yeah, sure. Well, you're right to mention LEDs, you're probably seeing a lot of them, and that's a real topic that's hitting motorists. I think the government's actually commissioned a report into incidents of glare, but it's not going to explain what's causing it. And one of the things that has happened in the bulb market is we've moved from a halogen bulb like this, which is the standard bulb for most vehicles, to LED units, which are completely different to this. They're not replaceable, and they are designed to work with that particular vehicle in that particular configuration, and they're homologated and they're E-marked. So people are seeing these LED headlamp units and they're wanting to replicate that. So then taking an LED retrofit bulb and thinking, oh, well, I'll just stick it into this H7 fitment and on the road they go. But these are designed to work in a very specific way with that halogen bulb, not an LED bulb.
So if someone would want brighter bulbs, what are their options? Because obviously LED's always been the kind of option that people go to.
LEDs produce a really white, crisp light, and they are brighter, so people are interested to replicate that if they can't afford a super hyped up vehicle with LED light units. But there are halogen alternatives. You can get brighter bulbs, like this is an Osram Nightbreaker 220, which offers 220% more light than standard halogen. And that is exactly the same fitment as this halogen bulb, but offers more light. It's totally road legal. It's been designed to make sure the light goes exactly where it is.
So obviously what we're seeing a lot of in the workshop is poorly fitted bulbs, obviously LEDs, like these subjects here that are fitted into headlights and then causing poor beam pattern. Either it's too high, too low, or there's no beam pattern, you've just got kind of a round beam pattern. Because obviously in the MOT we have to measure a certain point on the beam tester where the beam, the bottom line of the beam, and then a lot of the vehicles have a kick up, and the kick up have to be in the same. Some of the modern vehicles don't have a kick up. So, I mean, can you kind of talk me through like the design of the halogen headlamp and how the beam pattern's created?
So with a halogen headlamp like this one here, they are designed to work with this halogen bulb. And you'll notice that there's a reflector on the back. So the light gets shot out into the front. The cap at the front then sends the light back, and that complex reflector then channels that light into the beam pattern, which is obviously controlled by ECU regulations to, as you described, to give you that kick up on the left-hand side so you can see pedestrians and other stuff on the left-hand side, but then flat across the right-hand side so you don't glare oncoming traffic. And those headlamp units would have been designed to work with how a halogen bulb produces light. The difference being with an LED bulb is, you can see here, it's a very much more, it just has those little LED strobes which are directional. They're not necessarily creating the same effect as the halogen bulb. That's why we say it's for off-road use only, because it will produce a lot of white light helping you see, but for oncoming traffic it could be a hazard.
Which we all know is a bit of a nightmare. Yeah. So what's the difference between this bulb and that bulb?
Well, they're both H7 references, so you can see they've got the same fitting. The difference is clearly with the halogen bulb, it's working from a filament, and that filament is the coil that you can see right around there. As the electric current passes through that, it heats up, and then that heat then turns into self-natural light, producing the light. It relies on a halogen gas in there, or typical, it used to be halogen gas, but it's now like a inert gas, such as xenon, to make sure the burn rate is less. Here, there is no filament. And that's the reason why probably LED bulbs haven't been allowed to be made legal in the UK, because the ECE regulations state that all replacement bulbs should have a filament. That's a real technical thing. So here, instead of it being a filament that lights up, we have these LED diodes. They light up, they produce the effect, but they have a cooling fan, so they do look slightly different.
So you mentioned LED bulbs, we spoke about quite a lot, LED bulbs, that they're only for off-road use only. Why is this?
Well, the basic rule is, like I said, there is the regulations around it. There's no regulation which says about non-filament bulbs. It all has to be filament. And with halogen bulbs, there is a regulation UNEC 37, whereas an LED bulb, which doesn't have a filament, therefore you can't mash this bulb into that regulation. So there is just no rule around LEDs. But at the moment, we are still seeing, lots of bulbs, as you pointed out earlier, which have LEDs everywhere, and therefore, because it's unregulated, they can do that, because they're supposed to be for off-road use only. And when they're fitted to, a road vehicle, light goes everywhere, they're not working correctly. The other thing that, and this is where it gets really confusing for you, and you'll know this, is if you have a car that's, let's say, a classic or becoming a classic, like post or pre-1986, they're actually allowed in the MOT regulations. You won't get penalised for having an LED bulb fitted.
Obviously, best practices with fitting headlight bulbs. Kind of a couple off the top of my head. Obviously, fit in pairs, check the alignment. But obviously, what do you class as the best practices when fitting a bulb?
So from a mechanic's point of view, garage ownership point of view, always replace in pairs. It maximises sales and gives good customer service. The other thing is alignment. Now, you are perfectly positioned as a mechanic and a workshop here to do alignment, and there should be a fee for that. That's a time, that's a process. You have to buy the equipment. You can say, fitted it, and we've checked it, it's aligned perfectly, and you're safe to be on the road. And we're not going to cause glare because it's not misplaced. There's also upgrade options. We talked earlier about, here in this example, night breakers then on 220, which offers more light on the road. It's a very simple upgrade in the same fitting, same sort of halogen bulb technology, but offers more light. Now, there'll be motorists out there who don't know they can get more light, so simply by asking, do you want brighter or whiter lights, you'll be surprised by the reaction.
We also notice people moaning when they tow vehicles as well.
Right.
And obviously we've got adjusters on the vehicle. So what's your advice if you're towing a vehicle? What would you recommend to do? Would you
if you can imagine the weight all coming on the back, it's going to lift the front of the car up, as you'll know, and therefore the risk of that is you're not putting light on the road for you to help see, but you're also shining light into oncoming traffic. If you've got hobby trailers that you're taking somewhere, or you're towing a caravan, horse box even, you've really got to think about the weight of that and how it is aligned. Simple things like maybe like a hobby trailer, you could probably adjust the 0 to 4 counter, which can check it. If you're pulling a much heavier thing like a horse box or whatever, it's more about how you configure the towing setup. If you don't get that balance right and you see cars dipping, then no matter what you scroll to on that 1 to 4 on the scroller, you're not going to get the right alignment.
We're also seeing a lot of now poor quality bulbs. I mean, we're seeing a lot of poor quality, just parts in general across the trade, but we're really seeing the bulbs where the kind of light's not quite as intense or as quite as white, or the beam pattern is poor. I mean, obviously you see it day in, day out. So talk me through it a little bit.
You probably see more of it. But bulbs, they are one of the fastest moving probably components in the aftermarket. They're a consumable at the end of the day. The life of a bulb doesn't last forever, it blows. And as a result, people have seen a gap in the market to try and supply cheaper bulbs. Making them cheaper means the components aren't as good quality. The gas mix in the glass envelope is probably not as good, so you won't get as long a life. Equally, the geometry of the filament, it sounds really technical, but won't be as close to the UNEC marks as it should be, so there'll be a poor geometry, and that can cause light to shine out and cause glare. And then the other aspect is, if it is made of cheap components and it does blow in the headlamp, we have seen sometimes the actual glass envelope shatter, and then that can cause damage to the actual headlamp unit itself, which is a even more expensive replacement.
We've seen that a couple of times when the bulbs have actually exploded in there. But also we find that the cheaper bulbs just don't last as long. So it's kind of a false economy for the customer, because you're replacing them probably 2-3 times as quickly than if you bought a OE bulb, for example.
Exactly that, and that false economy is bang on the money.
Well, Henry, thank you very much. It's been really insightful, and every day's a learning day, as they say, and I've learned a lot, and I hope people who are watching this video have learned something about bulbs. My main takeaways kind of really is the difference between the LED and the main headlight bulbs, the H7s and the halogen bulbs, and also like how the kind of legislation, obviously I knew about the ruling from an MOT point of view, but I didn't know the difference obviously between the actual legislation between LED bulbs and H7 or halogen bulbs.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm glad you found it useful, and hopefully also your viewers find it useful. And like I say, one thing I would just reiterate is fit only quality bulbs, and also make sure you align them. And as a mechanic and other mechanics out there, just make sure you align them after fitment, because you can make a world of difference to motorists, but also make sure you're looking after your business as well.
Yeah, also because we're creating a profit out of that service. So yeah, completely agree. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want some more information on Osram bulbs, then click the link below. I'll see you on the next one.